We are our final lesson in this wonderful 7-week program. I hope that you've gotten benefit from it. We have really enjoyed making it for you. Today's class is the final step in living your life as God, reunification. And it will conclude with having your own conversation with God. This course reaches its wonderful conclusion, taking you to a deeper and richer understanding of the process of reunification of the current self with the eternal self. And then the ultimate reuniting of the individual with God by bringing you an experience of God's presence physically within you. This actual experience of reunification is the final process in the course called stepping into the miracle of who you really are. An extraordinary process in which you'll have the opportunity to have your own conversation with God, as we mentioned a moment ago. The lesson includes important steps, providing you with a direct pathway to being the happy creator of your own reality on a day-to-day basis, even as God is in the life of the universe. Today, I hope to help you explore what death really is and what occurs in the experience of the soul at the moment we call death. I also hope to help you understand that the experience of the soul at the moment we call death can also be part of one's life in the physical body, and how to cause it to be exactly that, thereby leading to reunification while one is still in the body, instead of having to wait until one has left the body through death. I hope you'll follow a step-by-step instruction on how to create and sustain happiness in your own hour-to-hour movement through life, and experience the process by which you may have your own conversation with God as often as you wish. So let's begin this last lesson with a look at the 3 phases of death. Wow, this is just about the most meaningful information I was given in my entire conversation with God. The information I'm going to be giving you now comes from the book Home with God in a Life That Never Ends, in case you are wondering where I'm pulling this from. And that's a book that you really want to read if you haven't read it. If you've read it, I know you'll already know how powerful a book that is. If you haven't read it, you really need to read it. Home with God in a Life That Never Ends is all about our experience of death, that which we call death. And it tells us that death occurs in 3 stages, or 3 phases, if you will. And that the first phase is the process by which we disidentify with the body. That is, we notice that we are not our body. And that's the first experience we have after what we call death. That the self, the consciousness, the awareness, that which you are, you'll find looking down on your physical form, and you'll say to yourself, oh, by the way, I've gone through this. I've actually had an out-of-body experience. Many of you may have had as well. So this is possible to experience this in the normal course of life, not just after you do the thing called die. So you will look down upon your physical body and you'll say, oh, I'm not that. I'm not that. Wow. Well, if I'm not that, then what am I? Because there is that, and you will look very much like a lump of clay to yourself. You'll look like a lump of inert clay, like looking at a statue, or a really well-made, a wax image of yourself, like in the wax museum. It'll look like that. It'll be you, clearly, but no life, just like a wax image. And you'll say, well, okay, I got it, because I'm still here. I'm still, noticing things and experiencing life, but there I am there. So obviously I am not that. That's the first phase of death, recognition that you are not that, or what I call disidentification or disassociation with the body. Phase 2 is when you disassociate with your mind, when you realize I'm not even my mind. And here's how that happens. What occurs is that you start thinking about what you're thinking about. That is, when you realize you're not your body, then you'll start thinking about your thoughts. And sooner or later, it will occur to you, wait a minute, who's thinking about these thoughts? Who is that's thinking about the thoughts? And for that matter, you'll go one step further back in the Hall of Mirrors, and you'll say, who's thinking about the question of who's thinking about the thoughts? And soon you'll understand that you're not your mind, that your mind is the repository, it's the data bank, it's the collection instrument that has held all the thoughts you've ever had from the time of your birth or your entry into this particular incarnation, but it's not who you are. By the way, during your life you'll experience that as well. You don't have to wait until after your death to experience that or to know that. In a previous process that we shared with you a couple of lessons back, we talked about the mechanics of the mind and the system of the soul. And when you step into your soul's experience of life, into your soul's awareness of what is really so, at that moment as well, you realize, oh, I'm not my mind. I must be out of my mind because I'm not my mind. My mind is something I have. It is not something I am. Similarly with your body. My body is something I have. It is not something I am. And that is the second phase of death, when you dissociate from your mind. The third phase of death, and this is the interesting one, is when you realize as well that you are not your soul. Now this is kind of a fascinating one, because a lot of people think, well, if I'm not my body and I'm not my mind, I must be my soul, right? Wrong. Your soul is still the individuated identity of you. It's the individual expression of, in fact, what you really are. So what will happen at the moment of your death is you'll first think that you are your soul, but then you'll realize, experientially I might add, that you are far greater than the individuated essence of the all that you have come to know as you in this particular lifetime. That will occur when your soul moves rapidly, racingly, if I could coin a word, moves racingly, as if in a race, through what many people have described as the tunnel. I've had this experience in my out-of-body experience. I raced through this same dark tunnel that so many others have described with lightning speed, just insane speed, toward a small dot of light at the end of the tunnel. And the dot got larger and larger as I came to the end of the tunnel, until I finally got to the end and found myself in the presence of nothing but this radiating, warm, incredible, really indescribable light. It's hard to, I shouldn't even describe it as light, because when I finally got there, it was not simply the experience of light. It was an experience of wholeness, of warmth, of allness. It's really indescribable. So the expression of it goes far past the words, the light. But here is what I experienced. I am that. I melded into that expression of life that was all of love, all compassion, all wonder, all knowing, all everything. I found myself melding into it and knowing, how do I put this intuitively, I am that. Oh, so I'm not even this individual soul. I'm that. And so the third stage of death is when we dissociate or disidentify with the soul as well as with the body and the mind. And then we realize and we experience who we really are. We stay in that experience as long as we want. I want to, be careful how I use words now, because there's no such thing as time in this place. In fact, there's no such thing as a place in this place. It's all that is, really. So, and it's always all that is, and it's always now. So it's the moment of forever now, always here. These are the only human words, the only simple languaging that I can find to try to describe this. So you are in the always here, ever now expression of life. And you, however, are not necessarily required to be in that melded expression eternally or throughout the always here, ever now moment. Interestingly enough, I'm told in Conversations with God, in the book Home with God, that you will not choose to stay in that place of oneness, of merging. You will in fact emerge. You will come out of it again. And there's a reason for that. Because I'm told that if you stayed emerged, that if you stayed inside of that expression of life, of that experience, you would soon no longer have the experience because there would be nothing else with which to compare it.